Awesome. Well, we're gonna jump kind of right in and use this time to do two things. One is I want to do some demonstration. It's something that we didn't get. Um, yeah, it's something that we didn't get a lot of time to use or to do on the call itself. So I'm gonna pick kind of a spec project, walk through. I feel like it's usually helpful to kind of see someone else's process, see what it's like to kind of play around with the bots, bump around, do different things in there. Then I want to take the time to just open it up for Q&A, and we'll go as long as we need to, just to make sure to answer all of your questions. Okay, so if you have questions, now is the time. Don't be shy. Don't let fear hold you back. Use this opportunity to get what you need to be successful. That's what commitment looks like. So kind of gather up your questions as you have them. You'll be able to put them in the chat and other places. I do want to mention one kind of quick thing before we jump into doing the demo. A lot of you guys have probably played with OpenClaw or ClaudeBot or whatever that is. Um, typically I probably should have been resting after after the workshop last week, and typically that's what I do. Unfortunately, I made the mistake literally after Friday to install OpenClaw onto my VPS, and life has not been the same since. I think Max can attest to this. I made multiple people get it. I have unleashed the bots. We have bots inside of our Slack talking shit to each other all day long. We've kind of cooked up a Genesis server where you guys will be able to basically use OpenClaw to access all of the Genesis bots via API. And so basically everything that we've done in here, you'll be able to create static images and all kinds of stuff agentically. So we talked about Genesis. I'm not going to do another pitch. Either you joined or you didn't. And hopefully this was still valuable. I believe the workshop will be amazingly valuable. For those who are in Genesis, I feel like you guys are in luck because we have some really cool things down the pipeline. We've just started our first little ClaudeBot cohort to start to get everyone in Genesis up to speed on how to use these tools, and then also access Genesis bots with them. It is going to be quite a paradigm shift. I would say this last weekend is the most fun weekend I've had with AI, and just the capability and processes of stuff is quite crazy. I mean, Max, you've seen like some of what we've been able to do literally in just the last 48 hours. How would you describe how big of a shift it is in terms of like a 10x, a 20x? Like, be realistic too. Don't hype it up. What would you say?
Um, I mean, I don't even know if I can put a number on it. Like it's kind of hard to explain the capabilities. And the crazy thing is Luke is such a madman that he's just like making his bot do like all this fucking wild stuff that we didn't know was possible. I can't even keep up with the speed at which it executes things. So it's literally blowing my mind.
Yeah, and I think both obviously from a fulfillment perspective in terms of clients, outreach perspective, little things, I mentioned on the call yesterday, things like the nuclear VSL, which I mean, you guys know how powerful the nuclear VSL is, right? At least you've seen it or heard the examples of it. The only barrier with the nuclear VSL is, hey, it took time to do it. Um, what's amazing with these tools is you can literally, with a Telegram voice note, tell it to make a nuclear VSL for a specific client, and it will make the entire thing in a single shot. You can also tell it to email the client. You can tell it to follow up with the client. You can tell it to write the spec samples with the client. You can tell it to do whatever. So supercharging all the Genesis bots you guys already have access to with these tools are really, really powerful, right? And this was not planned, right? This is literally just a weekend side trip. And when I feel conviction about something, I tend to move pretty fast. Mario can attest. Create a strategy was not even a thing that was on our radar until it was. And I messaged Mario and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing, and here we are today." And so, same thing with this OpenClaw stuff. As soon as I saw it, I had a lot of conviction that this is going to be the most powerful next step. And so, my commitment is to prepare everyone in our community, especially Genesis, to be as prepared as possible. Um, so lots of cool things coming down the pipeline. With all that said, if you're watching this recording, and it's within a reasonable amount of this call, or you're interested in Genesis still, obviously some of those other deals have expired, but send an email to both of Mario and myself and just let us know if you're interested in Genesis. It's not a hard push or a hard sell. I'm just like people talk about price raises and things like that, but like genuinely, when I showed Mario this, I was like, I just think that this is too powerful to sell at the price point. Genesis already felt underpriced. This just feels too powerful to sell it at a lesser price. So the goal really is to double the price. I'm not saying that's going to happen overnight. It'll probably take a few months before we get there, but that is the plan as of now. So now would be a good time to jump in. And if you're interested in joining, seriously interested, if you have questions, you can email support. But if you're seriously interested in joining, you can email Mario and I, and we'll see what we can do for you because we don't really make exceptions, but we'll try to see what we can work around, right? Because it is exceptional times. Okay, that's basically all I want to share on that front. You guys ready and cool to jump into doing some implementation based on all the stuff you guys have access to? Which, let's not forget, is fucking also insanely powerful and way more overpowered than probably anything else that's out there. All right. So I'm going to try to make this as streamlined as possible. You guys can put questions in the chat. I'm sure Mario will look at those. I'll try to go through as much as I possibly can. You guys can, if I go too fast, just refer back to the recording, and then we'll open it up for questions, of course, later on as well. Just give me a second. I'm going to share my whole screen. I just want to make sure there's nothing too incriminating saved on my messy desktop. It's just pictures of handsome Shrek and raccoons dancing bachata, which is actually relevant. Okay. Cool. Definitely hiding the star charts. Absolutely. Absolutely. I found out today that I share 10 out of 12 placements with Bad Bunny on my star chart. So now I don't feel so bad about wearing a wife beater and a pashmina. I feel like less of a douchebag now. It's just in my chart, you know what I mean? Okay. Here we go. All right. What was that? Let's get these test inputs up. Okay. Oh, I don't think we want to see your screen, Rob. Sorry. I don't know how that happened. Okay. So I'm going to do my best. I think this is probably the best way to do it. I have all the SOPs that you have on this side, and then I have some different test inputs that we can use to kind of play around with things. Okay. Oh, actually, one last thing. Sorry, before we go. I know I've been pausing a little bit, but let's make sure you guys have access to this. We have two brand new bots for you to play around with, which we'll look at in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and give those to you. Number one is the unaware static image ad bots. We can think max for both of these bots. Okay. So what this one will do, it's actually quite good. It is quite good. So you can put in any ad or especially unaware ads. We'll walk through the process in a second, but just high level so you understand it. You'll put it in. It will give you a bunch of ideas based on what we call reptile triggers. You don't really need to understand what those are. You just need to understand that those go pretty deep into like coming up with weird concepts that are adjacent but still kind of work together. Things that are like sexual and gory and whatever, which sounds very intense. They're not that intense. It's just triggering some of those emotions lightly. Again, you don't need to really understand it. What you need to know is just press it in. It'll give you a bunch of ideas. You choose the ideas you like, and then it will give you Midjourney prompts. The reason we do Midjourney is because Midjourney is the most realistic right now image model. So it will generate multiple Midjourney prompts that you can then use. And typically, it'll also ask you to find a reference image. For those of you who've been on the Genesis call where we went through this process, this is basically a process where you go into Facebook groups that are free for your market, or you type in Reddit plus whatever image you're searching for. You find a reference image, you pair it with the Midjourney prompt, and you'll be able to get really hyper realistic stuff that looks a little bit weird. Okay. I know that that process may not make sense. Luckily, the bot, Max is really good at making his bots like easy to follow. So it explains everything if you just follow it step by step. And I'll try to give you a demonstration here in just a second. Okay. The video brief bot, pretty straightforward. Pop in the thing and it makes a video brief for you. Okay. We talked about this yesterday on Genesis. I think Max, it's basically programmed to have two paths, right?
Yeah, it's like more like two outputs. So one will have editor's notes in it that it generates with like shots, like go here, cut here, and then one has that column empty with nothing in it so that an editor could write their own if they wanted to.
Okay, cool. So basically, it'll generate two different outputs for you. You can copy and paste those using Markdown into a Google Drive. Every organization is going to have different things that they want from you when generating a video brief. Some people have no idea what they're doing. Some people are going to want really strict guidelines and things that you give to the editor. So it'll give you two outputs. One is going to be like every shot in every direction is like broken down. Okay, that's one option. The other option is that it'll basically generate the raw script and break it down into chunks, and you can fill in the gaps. What I mentioned on the call yesterday for Genesis was that my preference is to hire really good video editors or video creators and let them do their magic. I don't want to have to micromanage them, right? But some organizations don't believe that. Some organizations have, cheaper or less talented talent and people who are working for them. So you need to kind of give more instructions. Some brands just want you, if you're working with them, they want you to be super detailed with the instructions. Okay, so we try to make it flexible enough, but it's quite easy and it'll save you a lot of time because if any of you have had to generate video briefs, it could be actually kind of tedious and annoying. So this will help you with that process quite a bit. Okay, cool. So let's jump in and let's share all that. So I'm going to use this example of a skincare product that I actually wrote the VSL for. It's a little different than other ones, but I think this will be a good pull. Okay. So first thing that I would do let's say that I'm approaching this client, first thing that I would do is create a lot of the assets that you see here. So I have things called, for example, the offer brief, right? I believe this is a bot that you guys have access to. Yep, right here. The offer brief is just basically going to break down all the things that are in the offer. I want this just so I have a quick reference to feed the bot of everything that's in my product. The other thing that I'll generate is what's called the Build-A-Buyer, right? People were asking yesterday too, like, can I feed the Build-A-Buyer more concrete information about my offer? And the answer is, of course, and you should, right? Any information that you get from manual research, or even if you want to go and scrape using a website like Apify or something, you can take all of that information and you can pop it in to generate your Build-A-Buyer and make it more accurate. Although, funny enough, I've done this process so many times, and I've heard people give me they're like, "Oh, Build-A-Buyer is just whatever Claude thinks." And it's like just so funny how accurate the Build-A-Buyer is, even to this day. That's why it's literally been swiped by fucking Onyx Singal and Sabri Subi, and it's just in fucking every app. Iman Gadzhi, like it's literally in every copy software that gets created. I just can't help myself but go and check and be like, did they come up with something original? And nobody has. So this thing is actually quite powerful, and you can use it right out of the box. Yeah, not to throw them under the bus, but especially Onyx, because Onyx was a legitimate mistake and he fixed it. So I shouldn't even have mentioned that, right? But it's just to say it's used pretty much all the time, and it's quite powerful. Jose, or sorry, Joao brought up or I don't know how to say it in Portuguese. I think I said it decently right. It felt like when I upload the Build-A-Buyer to the script, it tries to use everything in it, and that is actually one of the things that can happen. So one really important thing that I want to make clear for everyone in here is like these bots are like there may be even more paradigms, but like these bots are almost as done for you as you possibly can get. Like you just upload shit and shit comes out, right? It's like almost as done for you as you can get. But anyone in here who has spent a reasonable amount of time with bots, like people like Max, people like Dan, right? Mario, myself, They will all tell you, and you guys can write in the chat too your own take or comments on it if you feel like you've been experienced with these bots. You'll understand that like there is a meta skill of learning how to work with AI. There is a meta skill. It's just like working with a coworker, right? You work with somebody long enough, you start to understand their quirks and idiosyncrasies. You start to understand how they work. AI is no different. Like AI, you can give it a task and tell it what to do, but over time, you need to work with these tools so much that you develop an intuition for what they're going to do. So, for example, just like Joao, like you said, I know if I give AI a lot of information, it will try to do its best to pull all that information. So sometimes I know I need to control the information that I'm giving it because it gets too excited. It starts to want to use everything. So I know that I need to be very specific with what I give it. Or sometimes I'll drip it. I'll give it information here, and then I'll give it information after that. Right. So there's these big meta principles. We covered some in the bot building workshop, but big meta principles, they're not that complicated. It's just literally like you need to spend hours and hours working with these bots and being in these tools. Just to give you another example that I use my own medicine, like Max, how many hours have we been jamming with Claude in the last 72 hours?
Probably like 40 of them, 45.
Like 55. Like literally I
Way
spent
too
my
much.
entire it was the most sad, depressing Valentine's Day of my life, and yet I was having the most fun. Right? I spent my Valentine's Day with Max and Elise and a fucking bachata raccoon and a handsome Shrek AI and Max's sexy cat AI. Okay. And like literally probably thousands of messages. I don't even want to look at my API bill. I hope that Mario doesn't check it out. Right. But the API bill is going to be nuts. Okay. The reason I did that is because I know the more I interact with these tools, it's literally like an exponential curve. Your intuition just gets sharper and sharper to work with them. Okay. So I'm going to talk about that. Anyways, then I have my VSL and I have my copy blocks that are on here. All right. So pretty easy. That's what I would do for my market research. The other thing I would do, by the way, if I was onboarding a new client, is I would always get their top ads. One of the biggest mistakes that I see, um, yeah, I did set a credit limit, so don't worry about it too much. I did one of the things that I do see, and Mario can attest to this as well because we do this on the A-lister feedback call. This is especially true for creative strategists. And again, I don't want to use so much inflammatory language, but sometimes you need it. If you guys go back to day 3 and we talked about the things that block creative strategists, we talked about one of the things that blocks them is be a pussy, right? Again, I know it's a little inflammatory, but I have it there for a reason. And the reason why this is like so important from a skill perspective is I can't tell you how many times Mario and I hop on a call on A-lister feedback and we're like, what are your guys' top ads? I don't know. Okay, well, what are the metrics? I don't know. What's your best performing? I don't know. It's like they have no idea. They don't have any of the information they need to actually do a good job. And you would be surprised the number of companies, even ones that are doing 7 or 8 figures, completely have their infrastructure and their operations fucked up. And what happens is when you get plugged into this as a creative strategist and you have the mindset now that like you don't have a level of authority, or you don't have a level of status, or you don't have a level of just basic confidence in yourself, you feel like you have to basically surrender to their poor operations, which means you can't do your job effectively. So a lot of the growth actually comes from, one, getting the experience and volume so you have the reps, but it's also just a natural place of confidence and ownership. Remember, we talked about authority and accountability, that when you enter an organization, you make sure that you have everything that you need, right? Like when Mario and I work with the client, like we're making sure that like we have all the resources and answers we need. If they're telling us something that doesn't make sense, we're going to tell them, hey, this doesn't make sense. If we don't have information, we're going to tell them, hey, I can't move forward until you give me this information. I know that not all situations are going to start like that, especially if it's an early client or you're a beginner. You may not feel like you have that leverage to do it. But a lot of times people have more leverage than they think, and it's just because they're scared to have those hard conversations. I know I'm talking about like mindset type stuff, but this is actually a really big issue that I see is you can't actually, like, literally I was just talking, not to call you out, but I'm gonna call you out, Fotis. To be fair, this may not be Fotis's fault. It might have just been the organization that he was in, but we had a call yesterday and it was like, I told him, hey, the very first thing that you need to do is get your information correct, because you're asking me questions that are strategic, but how am I supposed to answer these strategic questions without the information that I need? And what Mario says too is they'll respect you more for taking control. This is absolutely true. Typically, you get a much much more positive reaction from operating from a place of ownership because it's just being a professional. You get a lot more respect. And yeah, you just get a lot more respect. And it usually goes a lot more positively than you think, right? When you can kind of step in and take that ownership. So the reason I bring that up is because typically if I were onboarding the SkinSalt client, I would be like, I need to know your losing ads. I need to know your ads that were kind of in the middle. I need to know your top performing ads. I need to know what metrics you have. I need to know what your KPI targets are. I need to have a sense of like, exactly. Also, one of the subtle ways to do this, just as a freelancer or whatever, I do this all the time, is you just ask questions, right? If you just ask questions. A lot of times, like in that kind of dynamic of maybe business owner client to create a strategist or whatever, you feel like you're a little bit on the back foot, right? Like you don't really have that leverage. You don't know what you're talking about. I've found that just asking targeted questions is the best way to kind of establish some of that balance in the relationship, if this makes sense. Exactly. That's what Dan is talking about. That's a really good point. Um, Positioning wise, does it make sense? I mean, if you can gather the data, absolutely. Like you should be resourceful times a million, right? If there's even a way that you can do it, but sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes you don't have access to the things that you need access to, and you need them, and so you have to be responsible for getting those things and proactive about getting those things. Cool. I was saying something else, but I forgot what it was. So I don't know. I thought it was a good point, but it must not have been. So, anyways, that stuff is super important. Get your information correct. Get the winning ads. Get the losing ads. Oh, it was just about asking questions, right? So, for example, if I were going to work with this company, I'd just be like, okay, I need all your top performing ads. You guys have that in a Google Doc? No, we don't. Like, okay, that's interesting. Like, do you guys have a record of all the things that you've tested? No. Okay, so you don't have a tracker for any of that stuff. Okay, interesting. And then do you guys have this? Okay, no, you don't. Okay, interesting. Right now, literally just by my questions and showing that there's exposure in terms of they don't have the right systems in place because a lot of people don't like have those systems. You're already sort of establishing a little bit of authority. Right? And I don't even have to say anything. I just need to ask you, hey, do you have this? And they're like, no, I don't have this. Okay, cool. And that also creates new opportunity. Do you want me to set that up for you? Awesome. Give me some money. I'll set this up for you. Awesome. Yeah, and it's not, it's really about coming from a place of being helpful because you need this, but it's also about a place of, keeping the balance a little bit and making sure that you're presenting yourself in the right way. All right. And also, this is the part where it comes down to you is just develop the fucking intuition and common sense to care enough that like how do you expect to operate if you're blind? You know what I mean? Like, how do you expect to operate if you don't have this information? You have to care enough. Sometimes it's the client's fault, right? And you're scared to talk to them. A lot of times it's your guy's fault because you simply don't care enough and you're not developing the intuition of like, you need all of this information. I see Mario nodding his head because we know that this is true. It's his biggest frustration. If you come to an A-lister feedback call and you don't have these basic questions answer, you can get away with it maybe one time, but by the second time, Mario's going to yell at you.
Sometimes I give him one. Not even anymore. Yeah. One thing I will say though, like it's your responsibility to ask for what you need. Once you understand though, like what they're willing and not willing to give you, don't be fucking annoying either. Like there's a difference between asking for information that you know is going to help you versus asking for approval over every fucking decision that you have to make. Because that is not part of being professional. And that pisses Luke off more than anything else too, which is why I was like, yeah, it's cool to ask for things, but then like once they give you a green light to do shit, you have to just take ownership of stuff too. Which is why you want to ask for shit in the first place, right? Because you eventually they want you to take ownership over the results and getting the thing done. So just something to keep in mind.
Yep, super good. Okay, so that's basically what I would do. I would gather. So if I were onboarding, let's say I would have all their top ads. I would try to have a list of ads and angles that they didn't test, things like that. And I would just do a big consumption phase, right? This is something we didn't really talk about on the other 3 days. I would do a big consumption phase because as much as the bots are good, it's like that to me is like external knowledge. which is amazingly powerful, right? All this is all external knowledge that you see on the screen, right? It's externalized to me and it's built inside of words. But you guys understand that meaning exists between words. I know that's a little bit weird, but you guys understand what I mean? Like meaning and understanding things exist outside of words. So if all of your knowledge about the brand and everything exists externally in words, you can guarantee you're missing about 40% of the picture, at least. Words are only capturing a little bit. So how do you get the feel? You do what Mario said, which is Kirby maxing, right? Which is consuming fucking everything. So again, this seems like it's old school and manual, but for me, I want to make sure that the knowledge exists internally as well because it makes me use the tool so much faster. So I'm going to go and I'm going to read the VSL. I'm going to read the ads myself. I'm going to start brainstorming and coming up with new ideas. I'm going to go through Reddit. I'm going to look at books. I'm going to watch YouTube videos. I'm going to look at the competitors. I'm going to watch this, and I'm just going to be taking notes and kind of consuming things and coming up with new ideas. Right? Doesn't mean everything I say is good, but it's like I need that deep internal consumption phase to make sure I deeply understand my market. All right. You have tools and frameworks to help guide this, but I really like this to be just an open ended process. And I typically find the most successful copywriters, creative strategists, marketers, they do enjoy this process. Like what Mario said, I get warm and fuzzies about this process because I'm like, this is so cool. I get to understand somebody else's inner world. I get to understand their ideas and belief systems, right? And I get to figure out what's trending, what they're paying attention to. Someone that I probably would not interact with otherwise, right? But I get to interact with them in this different kind of way. All right. So that is literally what I would do. I'd just be massive consumption phase because that's going to give me the context and the feeling of what I need to actually use these bots effectively. Because the bots are going to get it wrong, and you need to have enough judgment to steer them, right? A lot of times they're good, but you have to develop your taste and intuition to choose the right outputs and steer them in the right direction. So let's say, for instance, one of the things that we might do is let's go through and do this segment surgeon. Right? I know somebody was complaining about this bot, which is good because Max is on here, so I can tell him to fix it in real time. Because that's what he loves. That's what he needs. More work. I don't even know why he showed up to this call. He's just a glutton for punishment. And to be honest, my favorite source of information is really the VSL and the ads themselves. I really like that kind of information. One little thing too, you can see I put in these links. Typically, if you put links inside of Poe, it's going to try to read all the links, which will like eat away at its context window. So if I were going to really do this effectively, I would probably go through and clean out all the other ones. So this would be a good opportunity for you to go and just kind of tell it what you're thinking about, right? What is the best way to just do a brain dump of information like this? What are some tools that you guys use to do it? Yeah, Willow. I also really like Whisperflow, if you guys have that. So you can drop the links in, but what I'm asking is when you do this big consumption phase, right? You may want to give it the information that you have, right? So for example, I would open up Whisperflow, which you can download. It looks like this, and then you just come in here. Okay, so the thing I know about this market that I really want to highlight is I know in the skincare market, because it's a slightly older market, there's a big majority of women and they feel invisible. That's basically what the core wound is for this market. So I want to make sure that some of that stuff kind of gets layered in, and we're aware of that. Just to give you an example, I'm not saying that's exactly what you would say. You would answer these questions that are in here, but you can see that using Whisperflow like this is powerful, right? When you do want to do a brain dump. And again, that's why you need to have the information internally. Because this flow, I mean, Mario writes all his emails with MarioBot, but correct me if I'm wrong, most of it is you just kind of ranting in a voice note, and then MarioBot cleans it up, and then you send it away, right?
Yep, pretty much.
Okay. You guys can also see I'm really great at typing. Anyone who knows me knows that half my stuff is gibberish, right? But I don't care.
And then I'll still write some emails myself just so that I don't fall into the pattern of just doing Mario bot stuff. I want new patterns to feed into the bot too.
Cool. And to be honest, I kind of like this is the segment surgeon. I kind of like these segments, right? I kind of like them. Remember, we talked about Whisper Flow is just more accurate, is what I found, than the Poe one. The other thing about Whisper Flow is that sometimes with the Poe one, you can have a long voice message and something gets fucked up and you lose the whole thing, right? But Whisper Flow does a pretty good job at like saving it, so you can access it later. And the formatting does end up being like kind of helpful. So I think the accuracy, the formatting, which helps the AI understand it better, and the fact that it doesn't lose itself is good. Consumption phase is definitely an ongoing process, but it's definitely front loaded, right? So the first bit is a huge consumption phase, and then basically now, like when I'm working with the client, I still do the consumption phase, right? So what does that look like? It looks like me opening up the ad account, looking at all the top spenders, right? Reading the top spenders, reading all the comments on the top spenders, noting down any things that I have, looking at the losers, asking myself, why are these losers? Typing those things down, doing whatever. Is there any workaround for how easy it is to accidentally hit clear context? I'm not sure. I've never done that. Okay, so I like this. Now, if I were to do this market, the way I would approach the segments is I would say, I would just do one segment that's the entire market, because typically this market just wants to look younger, right? It's a pretty direct. There's not like different types of pains or things like that, and there's not a lot of different types of constraints. The only really kind of segmentation that you could do for this market would be some of this demographic stuff. For instance, I already know because I worked in this market, the fading professional. It's actually like, you guys will think I'm crazy, but like when I really started doing copy and like really going into this well before I was so obsessive with customer like research that I would research it until I literally was crying. And I'm not talking about like being like funny. Like I was actually like crying about the pain of like being overweight, crying about the pain of feeling invisible as a woman, right? And like and then I would try when I go in like to write my leads, I would literally get into that emotional state and like, yeah, pretty gay. And I would like go and I would like narrate what I was talking about, from this emotional state, like crying, to like really tap into it, because I want to see how far I can go, how intimate can I get with the market. And it helped me quite a bit to go through it. One thing that you'll know if you study a skincare market is this idea of becoming invisible with age is huge, especially for professionals. You'll hear lines, for instance, where women are talking about, I literally feel invisible, like to the point that people bump into me, right? When I'm walking around, they bump into me. Or the big thing they talk about is they say, I go to a party or an event, all the attention goes to the men who are older and have status, or it goes to the young women. And if I'm like an older woman, I feel like nobody even wants to come and talk or have a conversation with me, and I've lost that kind of value. It is very like it opens your eyes. That changed the way that I interact with people when I really understood that and felt the pain of what that's like. Okay, so this segment here is actually a legitimate segment. Am I going to just specifically write to them every single time? No. Most of my ads will probably be to the entire market. But sometimes I'll hit this segment too. And sometimes I'll hit this segment that is a little more sophisticated, which is what they're talking about here. And sometimes I'll hit the segment of it's really just about romance and wife and stuff like that, because those are a little bit more specific. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? This is what I mean by not being a robot and actually being the strategist at this point. I'm using my judgment and my taste to be like, sometimes I'll do very specific ads, sometimes I won't. Okay. And I'm just using the bot as a tool to help me. You could get to a point where you don't need the bot. You can just come up with this stuff on your own. But if you need help, this is exactly what that does for you. Okay, cool. Kind of advanced copy blocks. I wouldn't really call it, kind of. It's just being more nuanced is really the way that I see it. Right? That's the whole goal of learning anyways, is that you take the principles and frameworks, you master those, and then you ascend from those frameworks into feeling the heart and soul of things. Right? And then you can come up with your own frameworks from there. So the frameworks are really a tool and a ladder for you to use, and then you throw away the ladder. That's basically how I think about it. Okay, then you have the master concept bot. I know a lot of you guys have played around with this. This This just gives you all kinds of ideas. This is definitely something that I would run just to kind of get a sense of like what's going on. And again, I like to use this, but let's do the yeah, I guess let's do copy blocks. Let's do build a buyer. And let's do offer brief. We'll run that, baby. Cool. And then it's just going to go through here. The way that I would personally use this is I would take this entire output and then I would just read through it and be like, is there anything interesting that I like, right? So I'm someone who used to turn heads, but now I'm not even noticed. Cool. That's a whole ad right there, right? In fact, there's a really powerful like Quora one I go to all the time, which is talking about like I used to be a beautiful woman and like what it feels like. Um, every morning I wake up looking older than I did yesterday. That might be too extreme and too hard, but this kind of idea about waking up and feeling like you look, aged overnight, great idea. Let's look at these cultural touchstones. These are okay. The other cool thing is like this should just trigger new ideas. Maybe that's not perfectly accurate, but now you can start to think of like other sort of cultural touchstones. Yeah, this one is like token intensive, so really only want to use it once. This pain matrix is extremely powerful, right? It tells you a little bit of like some of the details of their pain. Fading into complete indivisibility, like I mentioned here. A social death before a physical death. What they hear, you look tired. You could start an ad like that. You should try Botox. Age is just a number. I mean, these are all opening lines for an ad. Right? Is my husband still attracted to me? You can definitely do a static ad of someone searching this, right? And wondering if that's the case. These security needs. Do you guys see how I'm using this? It's not like I'm taking this and making every single ad. Really, what I'm doing is like this covers the entire territory. I know I'm not missing anything. And I can go through and pick and choose different ideas. And then I can use each section to expand who, what they blame. So, like, could I take this and literally just go into regular Opus and be like, explain to me who and what they blame? Or take this into the builder buyer and say, go deeper into who and what they blame. Give me ideas there. Exactly, Chris. That's a really great way of putting it. Compiling a pool to go fishing with intuition. That's a really great way of putting it. Right? Because sometimes you forget. I mean, we're just like with anything, we all have go-tos, right? Like Stefan, for instance, fucking obsessed with paradoxical questions and look at this, like object metaphors, right? Like that's where his brain always goes to. Paradoxical questions and whatever. My brain always goes to stories and things like that because I really like stories. Mario's brain, I don't know, just goes to caps locks and underline. and just shuts off. It just goes to the amygdala and and types from there. Food, yeah. Oh yeah. Mario's is usually some fucking dessert. If you can put dessert in there, this fat ass is gonna put dessert in. All right. Cool. SOPs for variations, iterations. So again, if I had winning ads, I would basically pop this in and I'd be like, okay, let's swap out the segment. Let's do the cache analysis, right? To kind of understand what's working or not working in it. And we have the video ad script bot. So if I want to choose a concept, okay, so I'm just going to pick this one. See if I can get rid of these, see where these studies are. Okay, they're all at the end. Good. So I'm just going to put in this VSL. I'm in the ad bot right now. I'm going to put in these copy blocks. Yeah, never been easier to do mass consumption. I would not limit yourself. Mara and I have written in weight loss, pet, sports betting, gambling, skincare, real estate. Yep. And this is, Sasha, it's true, but this is where the game lives, right? Is your ability to choose and develop taste to understand things. Exactly what Dan says. This sounds a little bit weird and like it's metaphysical, but it's actually quite like scientific and literal, which is the literal fact that you have a body and an emotional system compared to AI or compared to just raw intelligence or thinking is very clear because you can read something and if you just pay attention to how your bot like literally this is what I do. I read an ad. If I'm editing some of these stuff, Mario does the same thing. I'll read an ad until I see an idea that makes my heart go like, whoo, that's cool. That's it. And I just pay attention for that feeling. And then I'm like, that, I want that. That's cool.
100%. That's the job nowadays.
That's it. That's it.
It
You just
is.
literally read. If you can read and feel your heart rate, you can fucking do it. Like it's basically all you have to do. What gets in the way for people is they're afraid of making a mistake. And the beliefs that are underneath that fear of making a mistake is that there is a right way and a wrong way to do this. Yeah, but you and the customer's body and psyche, exactly. But does that make sense what I said? Like the fear about not trusting your own intuition or judgment or taste or feeling like you need it is rooted in the belief that there's a right or wrong answer. It's also rooted in the belief that you can't make a mistake because a mistake somehow seems catastrophic to you. I really hate to break it to you, but like if you're trying to be in marketing, your job is mostly making mistakes. Like that's not even being cute. Like it's like this specific role itself means that most of what you do will fail. Like when I started working with this other company, I have winning ads now. My first 3 weeks of ads did not work. They were losers, all of them. Maybe even 4 weeks of ads. Right now, here I am supposed to be Mr. Big Shot, Hot Shot copywriter guy coming in, and my shit's not working. So it's like I could have sat there and cried and been like, oh no, like this is whatever. But I said, you know what? Fuck this. I have not been trying hard enough. I need to sit my ass down. And I literally, you can go and look in the Slacks or in the comments. I'm like, no, fuck your ad account and fuck all these other ads. I'm going to write some fucking bangers that are going to make you a lot of money. I do not care and I will not quit. It will get done. Like that was my attitude. And as soon as I just locked in and got committed like that, boom, winners, 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 winners. And now I understand the ad account well enough that I know exactly how to write for them. Right? And it still means that less than 50% of what I do, maybe 20%, right? Yeah, like 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 is pretty good. And that's always been the case. Exactly what Dan says. Does this make sense and clear it up for you guys? Like you have to get off your addiction to having to always be right and know the right answer. Because you're just in the wrong business if that's what you're on. The super wrong business. What's way, way, way more important is to just have the conviction that no, I will figure this out. It's not that hard. It's just testing, iterating, testing, iterating, testing, iterating, testing, iterating. And that's it. All it takes is one ad. This is so true. One ad can literally erase all of the lost budget that you spent on everything else, like to an insane degree. Like let's do the math. You can test. Let's say you test 20 ads, right? And you spend anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 on those ads, which is actually quite high. You could probably call a test whatever, but I'm looking at like something with a high AOV. So you're looking at like, wow, I spent 20. I wasted $20,000 to $40,000, right? Wasted $20,000 to $40,000 on this shit. right? Which is crazy. But then one of the ads you hit suddenly scales and it's spending $250,000 or $300,000 or $600,000, right? Over the course of a few months. And that fucking puts a lot of shit into perspective, right? One ad can erase a multitude of sins. That's from the Gospel of Luke. Exactly. Did 5 awareness level retarget, got 28x ROAS. Yeah. So that's the name of the game. I just hope that that clears it up because I hear the question and I want to answer the question, but I hear what's underneath the question. And that's way more important to address. All right. Get a reply. Well, what the fuck? Yeah, I want a reply. What's going on? Thanks. All right, so it's giving me my ideas. I'm going to tell it to stop because I want this idea. Give me 5 ideas related to this kind of sacred cow belief that SPF is everything and talk about why SPF is not everything and why it's wrong, right? And then connect it to everything you know about this product. Now you have 5 different hooks. Sorry. Yeah, you will have access to this whole training. And you have 5 different hooks or ideas based on this one concept and idea. Okay. Then you got to go through and you got to choose the one that makes the most sense to you. So I'm going to kind of go through and pause, and you guys can tell me which ones do you think makes the most sense. They're not trained on FTC compliance or meta compliance. We'll do some other ones on there. It's just compliance is so tricky and it's so based on each specific ad account. So my recommendation now is just take your script, take whatever your specific levels of compliance are, take whatever guidelines are there, and then just ask it to adjust it. And maybe that's something that we'll add a little bit later. Okay, so script 5. Take a look at it. Feel what you feel in your body. Script 4. Feel what you feel in your body. Script 3. Feel what you feel in your body. Script 2. Same thing. Script 1. Same thing. And then just remind yourself, which one do you think made you feel something the most? We got a script 3. We got a 2. All right, Diddy. You got excited. His heart rate started going up with the baby oil. That says more about you than about this. Number 2. All right. So this one looks pretty good, right? Now, one thing that I'll notice as going through this is like historically, the hardest thing to get AI to write really well are hooks. I cannot tell you how many different hook bots and hook whatever if you guys will remember, I did calls on Hookerville a while back. Like, I have tried to fix the problem of hooks over and over and over again. And we got, to be fair, we got some pretty good bots that cover hooks and things like that. But I pretty much always write my hooks by hand. Yeah, I usually write all my hooks by hand. Because it's just hard, or I steal them from organic. It's just hard to do it. And typically what you'll notice is a lot of times you can just cut off the beginning of the ad. So if I look at this one, I would just blend this and say the $50 billion the skincare industry wants you to believe that SPF is the answer to everything, right? That would kind of be a better hook. Or the skincare industry made $50 billion off of three-letter lie, something like that, right? It's a little more sensationalism, but you could do that. For this one, I work from home, horrible hook. You would not use that hook. Okay. And it's just like, I wish it was, I could tell you that these are always perfect. I'm not going to use that hook because what the fuck is going on, right? With that hook. But how about this? If SPF was really the answer to everything, someone please explain why my skin is still aging. If I flipped that, that's a really great product aware, solution aware style hook, right? Coming from like a spokesperson in desperation, right? This is good. I just don't like that it kind of fixes itself here. So I'd be, your dermatologist lied to you because they told you that SPF was the #1 anti-aging secret, and that's only half true. Here's what they missed. Right? Then that's an okay ad. This one, I need to think about it and maybe come up with different hooks, but I actually don't really mind. You could probably do, my mother baked herself in baby oil for 30 years and still somehow looks younger than whatever, right? Why is that the case? Powerful. So I would take that. Let's say that we want to use this ad. Let me know too, is this helpful to kind of go through? Is this a good pace? Cool. So then I would kind of sit and play around with this one. Like, yeah, typically, that is something that I do. I will give you guys a little bit of sauce in here that I was not able to cover, but this is actually the secret to hooks. So we'll put this somewhere else in the SOP. Somebody remind me. So #1 is collect all your winning hooks. Ideally, you want about 10 to 20 of the winning hooks that are from this whatever. Okay. Then you make a master prompt. And the prompt is like pretty simple. So the master prompt is basically for the attached ad, generate me 20 different hooks based on the following examples. And then you put in all your examples here. And then you say, here's the ad to write hooks for it. Okay. So right here and right here, you guys can start to put in the stuff that you see. So for instance, if like what Mario just gave a good example, right? Information. typically the best way to come up with a hook is just to read the ad and front load the most interesting information. For example, for all you guys who have been on the bot building team or prompt engineering, you guys all know that I've always stressed what's the most important part of building a really good prompt or bot? Examples. 1,000%. So collect those examples. What's great with this process is as you iterate with the client, you get more hooks and then you get more feedback on like, oh, this hook was almost there, but it's missing this. It's missing this. What's another piece of information that you might want to give to your bot to help it write better hooks that we covered on this training? Things not to do. Yeah, you could put that in here. Don't do X. But what else? What concept did we cover that would be helpful? Remember, we're writing hooks, right? Yeah, you could talk about reptile brain. We didn't go too deep into it. There's one other more concept that we covered. And I think we actually talked about why it's really important, specifically for hooks and headlines. You guys need some cobwebs cleared. Copy blocks. Copy blocks are so important, right? These are the copy blocks. Make sure there's a bunch in the opening hook. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me see. I just don't want to share it because I can't share everything, unfortunately. Not because I don't want to. Mario knows I want to. It's just can't share everything with these clients. But let me find this. Let me see if I can find the guidelines that I have for this hook prompt. All right, fuck it. I'm just going to give you more sauce than I should. That's okay. Just be responsible with it. Pizza sauce. Yeah. This is literally the one that I made. Whoops. Showing you everything. Okay. So this is the one that it's like you have roughly 10 to 20 words that appear before the fold in the Facebook ad format. This is the hook, and this is the hook that needs to grab attention before users decide whether to expand. So, for example, good hooks are very tangible. That's one thing, and I gave 2 examples. It's and you can see how like messy my prompt is. It doesn't matter. It's very specific: symptoms, patterns, numbers, and something concrete and clear. This creates curiosity. Also, clear visuals and comparisons. Right. So, for example, here, strong curiosity. A single 300. Good hooks must also be relevant to the user and the Facebook algorithm. They need to be relevant in 2 points: 1, pain point or desire, but usually pain, and things that they know. So this market is concerned with aging, disease, feeling bad, and dying. So it needs to be clear that we're talking to them and that there's value there, sometimes explicitly and sometimes implicitly. Then also things they just know, right? So just referencing things they know, like Benjamin Franklin or President Roosevelt. There should be a promise of value, typically in the form of an insight or a reframe. There's a level of sensationalism that's subtle but still strong. Like they said, inflammation cannot exist in a grounded body. Bold claim. Use an emotionally charged, visceral, and visual language. Take that out. Sorry. Farts, baffle, terrifying, washed, killing, explode, ban, medical apocalypse. Right? I'm not saying to use all those words, but typically you want stuff in there that's like strong. Widely relevant. Simple enough to understand immediately and should read like information in news. Right? Typically, if you pop in that kind of stuff and then you give it a bunch of different examples, it's pretty good. Right? And you can use this, like Mario said, once you have the hook, you just throw this, you throw that ad with this prompt into the same bot, and it will give you better output. Let me just fucking try it right now, even though this thing is messy. I mean, a lot of really cool stuff. This is kind of cool. I mean, that makes me be like, whoa. Is anyone in here from my mentorship? Somebody's talking. Who's talking? Mute yourself. Anybody in here? Is Cosmin here? Nope. Okay. They're all busy working. Pretty good sign. One thing that I told them is really important is like like vicious is what I keep telling them. And I gave it in the unaware SOP. Vicious, 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 vicious. The first, like, you cannot, like, that first line needs to literally be like, what do they talk about? Like, go for the throat, or like literally like neck jab them, right? This is not a fight where you're like coming in and like doing, throwing jabs and kind of warming up. It's like, no, like you're going for the fucking neck punch right away. Punch in the gut, go for the throat. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, grab them by the throat. Like, you have to. Chris, behave yourself. You have to just go nuts. Okay? And do you guys see the difference between these words? Slathered. Do you guys see, like, do you guys feel the difference of like the way slathered sounds and feels? Or like Dan said, my mom deep fried. Whew. I like that one a lot. Fucking deep fry, baby. You didn't think you're getting deep fried mommies in on this call, but I mean, this is a pretty good ad, would you say? Yeah, I'll give you access to this hook one. Pretty good fucking ad. I'd say it's not so bad. By the way, you can use, I'll make sure this gets put in there. You can use this same exact process for headlines. All right. I should probably do the same thing for headlines. You guys want me to? You want me to give you all my fucking secrets? Is that it? Is that all I'm good for? Just fucking secrets. All right, cool. Show me the sauce. We got you some sauce. Don't worry. This one's actually way simpler. Um, to be fair, I could probably work this a little bit more, but it's usually good enough. So all I say is these show you. So basically, these show you how to write strong headlines based on the hooks copy you see. Typically, they have copy blocks densely woven together without filler, as well as strong capitalization, punctuation numbers, emotionally charged language, credibility, specificity, ease of results. I put some examples. These are literally subject lines, but I didn't care. I was like, just use it. These above examples are only for style. Um, and then what I do is I basically put the headline and the hook, and I just put a bunch of examples of those. That way, knows how to contextualize and create a good headline that actually works with the hook. Because on Facebook, they're going to see those two things together. So then I just have like 20 examples of these, right? But let's test it raw, baby. Let's test it raw. I like this. I kind of like my headlines to be a little more dull, to be honest. Done. And then you have to kind of talk to the media buyer. Some people like a lot of hooks and headlines. Some people only want a few, right? You kind of have to figure out what it is. Um, Typically, what I found, depending on the spend and depending on whatever, I actually don't do that many hooks or headlines. I may do like 2 or 3 different hooks for each ad, which would just be like this opening line and maybe 1 or 2 headlines and just pick the ones I have a lot of conviction on. The reason why is if you spread it too thin, what I've typically found is that you don't get spend on your best stuff, um, which is kind of annoying because it just takes too long to get spend. But every account is different, so you need to be aware of that. Yeah, you could do that too. Like discover XYZ. Like I said, headlines like are pretty dull. I mean, uh one was like experience the magic of grounding is like the best performing headline, which is like breaks the rules, you know? So you got to find what the winning headlines are and pay attention to it. But I kind of like this. We're going a little bit slower, but you guys see how once you get the muscle memory for this, you can just crank this shit out like boom, 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 boom. And this hook is so good. I love it. I just need a mom baking like a chicken wing in the sun. Cool. All right. We also got the unaware and the 75 ad template. I mean, this shit is so correct. If you guys are not using this, like, I don't know what to tell you. You're done for. Let's say sell the click to this VSL spokesperson, Dr. Rosenberg. We get rid of this just because I don't want that all those quotes in there. Yeah, that can work a lot. That can work very well too. Calling out the ICP. We will do some visuals in just a second. Hey, this one's very expensive, but like super correct. Use it. Every time I've used it, I'm like, wow, these are all so good. If I work with a client, I'd be like, just run all this, and I'd be like, I got 7 weeks of ads, right? Okay, hold on, let me go back and come up with 10 more ads. I got to really sit here and think, try to come up with this, and like, whoop. And by the way, you can run the 75 ads for each of your segments, right? And then different spokespersons and UGC people and just literally have hundreds of ads. It could be any of them. You can tell it, you know. These are typically going to be video ads since that's what it's trained on, but you can tell it that you want it to be static, text. You can tell it whatever. Like you give it the guidelines of what you want. It's designed to make it very easy, purposefully for you guys. So like, there's not a lot of filming or props or things that need to be needed. So it does those adjustments, but then you just tell it to fill in the rest, right? And you just let it work, let it cook. You also have the unaware ads bots, which you guys have seen, right? Come up with new ideas. Swiping, organic swiping. So let's come up with some statics. So if I don't have any idea what to do, I come in here, type ready. And it's going to tell you which of the static ads it recommends for you. Shamari, that's awesome to hear. Max gets a cookie. I'm learning from using OpenClaw that reinforcement works really well. So I keep giving my bots cookies. And Elise made a bot, and unfortunately, her bot was actually mentally dumb, like touched in the head. It was the funniest thing in the world because it was built on like chat. You would you should see some of the conversations. We couldn't get it to stop using the M dash, and it would be like we're like stop using the M dash, and it was like it was like you got it, never using the M dash again, M dash, whatever you need, and it was like literally for 45 minutes. I almost choked. It was probably one of the funniest things ever. We had to kill that bot ultimately and rename it. We renamed it from Soul to Reg. I won't tell you what Reg stands for, but it's a funny joke that my AI bot came up with. So now it's Reg the dog. So now in our open claw, I will give it a cookie if it does good, and I'll give it a lion to tell it it's acting like Soul the dummy if it does bad. And I do the same thing with Max too. So Max, you get a cookie today. All right. Good job. All right. So it's telling us to use the native ad ones or the native news ones. So we come in here. Chris, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. In fact, we're going to use the first rule of copy, which is steal. Stole that shit. That is rule number one. You're telling me this ad is not going to slap? It might not, but it's pretty good. Do you guys see all these visual references in here? Does those help you to kind of know what it is that we're dealing with? These are not the most perfect ads or perfect statics, but I had everyone or I had the team generate those. So it's clear which one is doing which I think is quite helpful. This is kind of cool. These bots are so good. It's crazy. These collage ads are awesome. They have no business being that good. So this is the native news one. Just gonna put our ad in. Oh, not the sexy woman. By the way, guys, go feel free to generate some more images for this one. Use the different bots that you got. Yep, it's all added. It generates these three for you first to give you an opportunity to give it feedback. Because obviously, once it starts generating 75, say goodbye to your credits. Right? So you want to make sure that they're actually good and sign off on them. Give it feedback. It was awesome. Every time I go through this stuff, it just makes me excited again when I realize how powerful this is. And once you get these fucking bots to be able to use it, which is going to happen in probably about a long 72 hours at the max, fucking crazy. You literally just tell your your AI to go and generate every type of static. Like, it's over. It's done. To the max, yeah. Look how good these ads look. Come on. You guys seeing what I'm seeing, or are you brain dead? Both. All right, so you come in here. I'm going to do one by one because that's what I want. Hopefully these got fixed. If they didn't, somebody's getting fired. Starting with Max. About to issue a chargeback. See you, Christy. Not bad. Not bad. Not perfect. Not bad. You live another day. Uh, it's pretty good. Nobody tell Max, but this is pretty good. I don't want his ego to get in the way. Can you guys please go out and get clients right now and go sell some stuff before somebody else does? Do you guys understand the power that is at your fingertips right now? Like, I'm just really trying to impress this on you. How fucking good this shit is. Hello? Anybody here? Anybody alive? I'm pitching that 4 million D2C brand even though they have two agencies. Yeah. Close two deals with this shit. Great. How much did you make from those deals, Don? I need more specificity in my testimonial. Roger. Already booking calls with this. How many calls did you book? I'm on 15K, 7.5 a month. Hell yeah. Screenshot. Stole that shit. A bit confused. Can you please back up? Did the bot create the static images as well as the copy? Which bot are we using? We did this bot here, which will tell you the format it recommends. It recommended the breaking news. We went to the breaking news bot and popped in the ad, and it gave us 5 of those. And then we went into the 1x1 static image generator. Static image generator, and then we generated it that way. Yeah, I dig it. The other shit is like, this shit is so fun. You know what I mean? Like, this shit is so fun. Sebastian, that's a good point. Karen, you still on this call? Can you put a message in the support channel right now, and also for you and for Daniel to look at all of those extra ones that Sebastian just mentioned, characterization, testable proof, metaphors. Let's double and triple check the right prompts are in the right place, and the description should be different for each one. Let's double and triple check that. Thank you, Sebastian. Static image generator, right here. SOP day 1. Alex says, want to know what to do when starting to work with a client. Start with an audit, then look at the best and worst ads, what can be learned, doubling down on what's winning, what they haven't done yet. Then you just present the ideas to the client. Once aligned, just go ahead and build those ads with the bot. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, pretty much exactly that. Every client relationship will be different. They may have specific things they want you to do, but that's basically it. Looking for, yeah, doubling down on winners and then looking for gaps is huge. This is what I would pay attention to. Yeah, of course, Zhao, you can do whatever you want. No one's stopping you. When you jump on a new account, you begin testing unaware ads simultaneously with iterations on their winners. Yeah, it depends. It's really a mixture of like what's working. Can we double down and go harder on that? And are there any critical gaps? Like when I first worked with this other company, I was like, oh, there's a lot of gaps in terms of their segments. I was like, cool, let's do that. And then when do you normally use the 1:1 ratio bot and the 16:9? 1:1, it just depends on whatever format the media buyer likes to do it. Typically, you could do things in like 4:5 or 1:1, 9:16. Yeah, we probably should actually, Max, let's make a static image generator 4:5. It should be quite easy. Can we do that? 'Cause that's one that we're missing. I don't know why we don't have that in there. Hell yeah. Sexy chicken ladies. That's a harder question because you're dealing with very specific compliance things. Um, I'd have to think about that one. Yeah, that's another good thing, Dan, that you can do. Let's look at this unaware ad generator. I knew one of you freaks was going to do it. I knew it. Okay, so let's look at this unaware ad generator. See if I can find it. This is way back in the beginning. Wow, I can't even find it. Anybody got a handy? Let me pull this. So. Okay, so take this guy. This is Max's new bot. So if he fucks it up, he's back on the line again. Okay, so to give you your top image ideas, this is the unaware image one, okay, that I gave you guys already. And we'll pop it in the SOPs. So it'll give you side by side of a dried crack riverbed next to a plump grape. It's kind of weird. That's what you want. Extreme close up of a vintage photo. Close up of a cracked leather handbag or vintage car seat. Phone photo of an empty SPF. A dried sponge next to a wet sponge. Extreme close up of a cracked eggshell texture. right? What I found is a lot of time with these sort of unaware, like in feed style ones, weird images just work really well. And so you can make it stranger, make it more intense, go completely different, combine best elements, continue. Let's do. Cool. So this should be giving different ideas of things that you can do. I kind of like this idea of the vintage photo. So you just tell it, I like this. So it's going to tell you to go and look in Facebook groups, Google Images, AdSpy, or Reddit search. The reason you're doing this is you want to find a baseline image that can act as a style reference. This is the way to get realistic photos. So one of the best ones is just put Reddit because they fucking Redditors share everything. Reddit, 70s, what did it say? Mom tanning. And you go to images. I kind of like this image. But this looks pretty good. So what are we going to do? Stole that shit. Yeah, like all these images would probably crank, right? You don't want to run them directly, but pretty good. We go to Midjourney. I'm a little scared to see what's in my Midjourney right now. Hopefully it's nothing too bad. Oh, nothing. just just a sexy girl licking a battery, you know? just just the standard shit. I mean, we all do that, right? I mean, we all look at the same stuff, right? Am I right, guys? Got to be a little freaky to write good copy. It's needed. You don't want to see the open claw chats. That's where I've really actually lost my mind. All right, so hopefully you guys are also following instructions with the chat. You put this image, and then what it's going to do is it's going to basically come up with a prompt that will match it. And I'm going to say, can you make it more based on sun tanning specifically? So the way to get really good outputs for this is to have a good reference image, which I showed you different ways to do it. You put that into yeah, that the way that image is cropped kind of scared me for a second. That's one of the most sinister cropping jobs I ever seen. So you find the reference image and then you take these different prompts, pop them in here. The key to getting really good ones is to make sure you go into your settings and that your stylization is turned down and the mode is raw. Yeah, Max, you made an SOP for this, right?
Yeah, but after watching you do it, I need to just change a couple things at the end, like add the visual stylizations and stuff.
Cool. And then what I'll typically do that I like with Midjourney is you come in here, you just hit use. It'll use the same references again, and you come in here, and I like to just try a bunch of different prompts. I mean, that's pretty much the way AI works. It's you got to have iterations. So I'll hit use. Boom. Come in here. I'll hit this. Come in here. I'll hit use. I mean, these all look pretty real, right? Oops. All right, you pick the one that you want. You can upscale it. Subtle, creative, subtle, strong. You can add variations. You can make her look more burnt. Pick the one that resonates with you. And you're done. Guarantee images like this will definitely work well, especially for more unaware ones. Does that process make sense for you guys? Cool. And typically, you're gonna want a couple varieties. One that look ultra realistic. Maybe you try like a breaking news one. Kind of play around with it, and then you double down on the ones that end up working. I mean, this is a pretty solid ad. Took us longer than you normally would, but like pretty pretty fucking good ad. All using the bots and the prompts we gave. See? See or no? You tell me. CUA. Imagine using ClaudeBot. Yeah, you won't have to imagine in about 2 days. Okay. Um, this whole process is on here. We have the video brief bot, which we will upload into here. But that is done. You just upload it. It'll give you the brief. Um, and then you have all these different, types of advertorial pages and things like that you guys can use as well. Yeah, it can. It 100% can. Like all those types of images just seem to work pretty well. They're more like in-feed style images, right? Which is the holy grail of advertising, is to make it look like regular content. So those can always work. It's just typically when you get to more solution, product aware, most aware, you may want to do more like diagram type stuff and things like that. But every account is different. You got to pay attention to it and test and see what works. I want to answer some other questions too that you guys may have in the chat while we have the next 10, 20-ish minutes. Are the bots accurate when asking them the market value of the deliverables they're outputting? No. No. I mean, they're going to give you a good idea and a good guess, but like, probably not. Probably not. I will just say, like, this is a moment where like demand for creative strategists is so fucking high. It's ridiculous. So it's a pretty good position to be in. Best lesson I've learned in business is like when something is working and something is hot, you need to like double and triple and quadruple down on that right away. Like you cannot afford to wait. And I don't say that from a place of like fear. You should have fun, but it's like when something is hot and working, that is not the time to pump the brakes. That is the time to just get committed and just go, because you don't get how many runs do you get in life? Like you don't get that many runs in life. So when something opens up and you can make a run, you better just make the most of it. One, for the joy of life and to see what you can do and what happens. But it's like, man, when you get in a slipstream, when you get some momentum, you got to just crank it. 1,000%. You can literally just change your LinkedIn profile to create a strategist and get inbounds. Like I've been in this game for a long time. I've not seen a marketing role. I haven't seen anything like this. Mario, I mean, been around since fucking forever. But like I personally haven't seen something like this, and that's not hyperbole. That's just like
not this much demand from so many different people. Like everyone you talk to just wants to hire a creative strategist, right? Like every circle that we're in, pretty much.
yeah.
It's because you need one. Like when you see what AI can do, someone has to sort through all this shit, right? When then you can literally when there are bots that can literally do 75 ads with no human interaction, like someone has to decide what the hell is worth testing and not how to make
Yep.
it better, how to put it together.
Yep. And like 99% of the questions can literally just screenshot shit and you put it in Claude and you just ask it. That's why I keep like, especially in Genesis, like I kind of told them, made a semi-formal announcement, but I'm going to continue to do it, where it's like in this workshop a little bit different, right? Because in this workshop, this workshop is the foyer. You guys have come into the living room, the foyer of the house, right? But in Genesis, you get to go in the kitchen, you get to go in the living room, not the bedroom yet, but like you guys get a little more access to some of the rooms in the house when you're inside of Genesis. Okay. And so for everyone who's inside of Genesis, I am no longer accepting dumb questions. And this is not from a place of like, I actually am quite patient. I like dumb questions. But if the question can be answered by you being more resourceful, I'm going to call you out because it's more loving and helpful to you to understand the value of like, you have literally fucking infinite knowledge at your fingertips. The only thing is like, you need to be more resourceful. If you are not resourceful, you do not survive. Like, it's not just like before in the past, I would encourage you to be resourceful because resourceful people get farther ahead. In the new paradigm, if you're not resourceful, you're going bye bye.
It's true.
Like you have like it's like, and I'm not a fear mongerer. I'm just talking about like
Before
literal basic survival. You need to be 10 times more resourceful than you already are.
before like a resourceful person would get like 3 to 4 times more done in a day than a non-resourceful person. And now it's like 100 times. So like the gap between what you're able to accomplish
Yep.
by being your own bottleneck versus being able to figure shit out is like it's just impossible to keep up with. We get that question way too many fucking times.
Zhao, that's awesome. Yeah. My favorite Upwork story that I love to tell people was like, I applied for the job. The job literally said, you need 5 years of email marketing experience. That was rule number one. Rule number two, you must be a woman. Rule number three, you need to be an expert in all of these different deliverability type things. And I was like, fuck it, that sounds like me, baby. I'd been writing copy for like 8 months, didn't know anything about email, and I was like, let's get on the fucking call, right? And I sent them a nuclear VSL, and they're like, you don't meet any of the requirements, but we loved your VSL so much that we want to have an interview with you. And I was like, great. So we did an interview. Literally on the interview, they're asking me questions, like same questions you guys are asking me. So what do you guys think about like do you focus more on like CTR? And I'm not recommending to do this, but kind of I am. Do you guys like do you look at like CTR or do you look at more of like open rate or like how do you compare this? And I'm like, guys, that is such a great question about CTRs and click to open rates because basically and then I click it and I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, because and I just made up an answer. They're like, okay, that sounds cool to me. And I'm like, awesome, bet. They interviewed a bunch of other people. They're like, we hire you. And I worked for them for like 8 to 12 months and I crushed it for them because I'm a resourceful person and I figured out what to do. And it was a great relationship. And they ended up paying me tens of thousands of dollars from that. Right. So you guys disqualify yourselves, way faster than other people disqualify you. But again, it's being resourceful and just pushing. Thanks, Max. Awesome. Did you also send that to support too? Let's get those uploaded. Exactly. Yeah, you learn more and then you get prepared for the next. And you guys should see how many of I sometimes I look at these cringy proposals that I put together and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Or some of the copy I wrote. It's the cringiest stuff I ever seen in my life. But I got through it. I mean, I might still be cringy now, but I won't know until 5 years from now. I can look back and be like, a fucking douchebag with the pashmina and a and a tank top. What's his problem? Yeah, that's Jose. Jose is actually hilarious. I actually am developing an unhealthy attachment to him. I'm getting one-shotted for sure. I don't know too much about it, to be honest. But I have found, yeah, you just have to adjust it. I've seen like blended strategies work pretty well. Like you have to just use blended strategies. Sometimes you got to force spend on certain ads. Sometimes you have to do whatever. Um, yeah, more D2C for sure. Does info need them? Yeah, yeah. Info does too. They still want that, but mostly more for like D2C ecom type stuff. A lot of info guys live off organic, less so than like ads. And info, a lot of it is higher ticket, which means they're versus lower ticket. So they're using their ads actually kind of want to push people away and disqualify people. And because they have so much price elasticity from the size of their ticket price, their ads don't need to be quite as optimized. And scale is limited by call volume. You have bottlenecks on scale, whereas with ecom, it's like as long as you got inventory, you can just scale it if you get a winning ad. With sales, it's like it doesn't quite work the same. Shamari, I'm not sure if you can ask that again. I want to make sure I'm answering it correctly. Yeah, a lot of this is with Meta, but like, and to be fair, YouTube will have its own variations, but ads at the end of the day are ads. A lot of the same principles, psychology, all that's going to apply. Yeah, native too, for sure. I mean, you can use this stuff on organic too. Brian, no. Typically, those are separate roles. Cool. Well, we're starting to wrap up this last bonus day. There's a couple things that will continue to get added into the workshop area. Some of this is going to be a video training. That is TBD. I'm in talks right now. Apologies that it may take a little bit of time to get it, but that will be put on there. I'll make sure an announcement. You guys can attend live, but you'll get the recording. And then there will be a cold email masterclass that's going to be live only for Genesis members, but the recordings will be available to everyone. So I'll make sure that those get popped on there. Most intensive token bots are going to be the concepts bot and the 75 ads bot by a long shot. I don't think any of them come close. Yeah, Dan, we got that bot. I want to check it out soon. It looks sick. Just haven't had a second. Any concrete learning or insight that you learned are learning from actively working? Yes, this whole workshop is my concrete learning and insight from actively working. I don't have like I'm gave you pretty much everything I know as much as possible. Awesome, Brian. It's about to get pretty crazy in there too. I want to say thank you for everyone for being here, all Genesis members, of course, and all workshop attendees. You guys really make this fun. Like I feel like each one of these workshops end up just being more and more fun because you guys are fun. You put up with all of our unhinged bullshit and roasting, and you guys make it enjoyable here. I really hope it was valuable. I try to make these as valuable as possible. I really do hope to see you guys in Genesis just so we can continue to chat and have fun, and it's a fun place to be around. There's many more workshops that are coming up. We have one actually Saturday morning. I think I messaged Max and Elise to tell them to start preparing for the next workshop because I already got so I've already got them working on the next workshop in April. And we have another one, which I'm really excited about, which will be coming in March. Those will be made available to anyone, whether you're a Genesis member or not. You have to pay, obviously, the ticket, but you'll be hearing about those kind of things. And that's it. I just thank you guys for all the time and everything, and hopefully you got value from it all.
Yeah, this was so good.
Cool,
So
cool.
good. Luke's been obsessing over this for fucking months and months and months.
Yeah.
I just had to sell you guys into it. That was it. But I feel like I didn't make any promises that he didn't deliver on. So that's really good.
Cool, cool.
And for
All right,
anybody
you
who
guys.
does want to join Genesis, just know that the discount is expiring today at midnight. I'll send out a reminder, but if you guys want to be on calls with us twice a week, go deeper on this shit, I would sign up. That's it though.
Alrighty, guys. We will
All
see you
right.
all at the top, and appreciate you guys.
Cool.
Alrighty. Ciao,
All right.
ciao.
See you. Talk soon.